On today's episode of Aneesh Thing, powered by Kotak Privy League program, I spoke with Shibani Gharat. She's a TV journalist and she runs a lot. She's done ultramarathon, she's done continuous running for 24 hours, 36 hours, and we spoke about the running mindset and why you should run a marathon. I think it's a very inspiring episode and we'll get into it right after these short messages. Well, welcome to the show, Shibani. Really good to have you here.
Thank you so much, Aneesh.
Well, I want to straight get into your journey into running and also a little bit about your background.
Okay, sure. So I am a journalist. I am an anchor and associate executive producer with CNBC TV 18, which is a business channel. I have been a journalist all my life. And I really enjoy my profession. And if you were to ask me about my running journey, how it began was, given the life of a journalist is very, very difficult. There are no particular hours. Like, it's not like a bank that you work from 9 to 5 or 9 to 6, or not like a corporate job where there is a certain set of timing that you have. Like, sometimes I might just come home by, whatever, 5 or 6 in the evening. But on some other days, I might just come back home by, let's say, 1 o'clock or something like that. Running was something that was easy as an activity to include, given my schedule as a journalist. Also, I have been an athlete prior to, taking up running. And in college, I used to represent Maharashtra and Mumbai University in Taekwondo.
Oh, wow.
And my, vacation hours used to be 3 hours of training in the morning and 3 hours of training in the evening. During college, when the college was on, it used to be 3 hours of training at least every day in the evening. And when I left college to, take up a job, I started missing that training part of it. And then, because of working for long hours, sitting at one position for long hours, I had developed a spine complication. There was a fluid entering one of, a part of my spine, and that led me to be on a bed rest for for almost a month. And it was like a big wake up call. Because, this is not who, I was. Like, I have always, even at home, you will never see me sitting at a place. At office, I'll be moving from here to there, taking calls while walking. So that's the kind of person I am. I like to be mobile. I like to be active. And it was a big wake-up call when, even to go to the toilet, I needed my mother's help to, take me from my bed to the toilet. And it was really difficult time of my life. And that's when I decided, okay, what can I do, given my schedule, given the life that I have. And I remembered that in college, when everyone else, my college was a morning, it used to start at 7:30 or 8:15, when the first or the second lecture used to begin. First lecture used to be 7:30. And everyone would have this strengthening session for Taekwondo in the morning at Khalsa College ground. And my college was Sophia's at Pedder Road. And I couldn't make it to that strengthening and, that morning session during college in Taekwondo. So I used to, go to Shivaji Park, do a couple of rounds of running and come back home. So I would make that happen to maintain that fitness for, on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So I thought, why not do that again? I can't make time for a gym or going to the pool or any other sport because it has certain amount of schedule. Running you can do anytime, anywhere, even when you're traveling, at whatever time that you can. And luckily I stay in a place where which is kind of a great place to run, very close to Shivaji Park. Worli Sea Face is also fairly, it's very accessible, not fairly, it's very accessible. So, I will go and run. So, that's how it all began. Then one fine day, I was running around Shivaji Park and, this elderly man, he came to me and he's like, hey, I see you run every day, without fail, and I stay just very close to Shivaji Park, and it's commendable because you run at 10, you run at 2, you run at whatever, 7 a.m., 6 a.m. So why don't you register for Mumbai Marathon? And Mumbai Marathon, if you have run it, so you know that the registrations get full pretty fast, especially for half marathon distance. So I went back home and I checked, and the registrations were full. And this was November 2012. That was the time. So November, and the race happens in January. And I'm like, how difficult will it be to run a full marathon? So I'm like, why not give it a shot?
You did full in your first attempt?
Yeah.
Damn.
So, and interestingly, that was also a transition period. When the marathon happened, I was changing jobs. So I got like a 10-day period between one job to the next one, that, which was CNBC TV 18. Actually, CNBC Awaz was the channel that I joined. Network 18 group is what I was joining. And I had 10 days, and my preparation for a full marathon, my first full marathon, was those 10 days that I got crazy. In between two jobs. And I used to run like somehow. I would seriously tell everyone not to attempt this stunt ever in your life, because I had like conditioning and muscle memory of so many years of training and putting in hours and hours of work. Probably that's the reason why I could pull off that kind of stunt. Otherwise, it will, because marathon is a beast. Even now, I feel, after doing so many races, marathon is a beast. So it's very difficult to pull that off without, some background or, some amount of muscle memory that you have. So yeah, that's how I did. So I did my first full marathon in January 2013. And from there on, there has bbeen no looking back. Yeah. So that's the story of how I began running.
And you were saying you did 100K in your first year of running as well.
Yes, I did. Because, it was such that, not many people were doing full, especially not many women were doing full marathon back then. And then somehow I got surrounded by these crazy group of people who would go ahead and register for a 50K. And then I'm like, okay, there was a beautiful 100K race which was happening in Nilgiris. And I've been fascinated by Nilgiri range of mountains, just like I've been fascinated by Sahyadris. And, I'm fascinated by the state of Rajasthan. I think it's really beautiful. So I was like, okay, this was around Christmas. So I will combine it with a nice solo trip around, Christmas. And, I will go ahead and do 100K. This was in my first year of running. So yeah, I just went and I registered for that, and I ended up doing that race as well.
And what was the training like for this?
So training, luckily, there was my group of friends had registered for a 50K race, which was a Bangalore Ultra, which happens in the Hennur forest in Bangalore. It was a famous ultra back then. So I just did that race as a training and a couple of overnight runs, because this Nilgiri 100K was an overnight run that started at 12 in the night. It was a very interesting race, actually. I saw a bison at 2 o'clock in the morning and thought it was a bull. And it was only after after a couple of 100 meters that, my crew vehicle was just waiting for me to pass that bison and come ahead. Then I realized from them that this was actually a bison and not a bull, because I was wondering, what is a bull doing, and fairly large bull at 2 a.m. Do the farmers wake up so early in the morning to take out the bull at 2 a.m. in the morning? So yeah, so it was an interesting race. It was the elevation gain was quite a bit. It had, of course, a toll on my body. Like I was walking like a zombie for the next couple of days, it being the first race. But then, something in me told me that, okay, I was amazed by, what my body can achieve. That feeling is, I can't even express. Like, if you do that kind of distance and next day, if you have to travel on the same road, or you have to take a train through which you could see that route, it amazes you to think that, you were running here and, you covered this distance the previous day. Like it's just an amazing feeling. Even in a training run, when you do a 50K or something in Bombay, and the next day, if you have to go, so NCPA is where, you have to cover if you have to do a 50K distance, because, that covers pretty much the whole of Bombay. And next day, if you go for a lunch or dinner to NCPA, and if you're returning, and it would make you think that, okay, this is where I was running and this is where I clocked that distance yesterday. So it just amazes me that, how much you can push your body to, like, to what level, and how much does the body oblige or, obey to that.
It's fascinating that you say your practice run was 50K.
Yes, if you have to do a distance like 100K or 24 hours, when I do 24 hours, like it's back-to-back 40 kilometers on Saturdays and Sundays, or back-to-back 50Ks on Saturdays and Sundays. See, when it comes to other ultra runners, it is different. They get a whole week. Like, many of them do not have a full-time job like I do. So they get a full week to clock the kind of mileage that is required, or that is the ask for a particular ultra marathon. I get only weekends. So I have to make most of the weekends that I have as a run-up to the race. So most of the time when I am attempting a big 100K, a 12-hour, a 24-hour, 36-hour kind of a distance, I have to make most of the weekend. And that's when, those back-to-back 50K, back-to-back 40 or 60, or back-to-back 60 and 60, 55 kind of a distance, you have to do it. Like, there is no choice. Yeah.
So for me, the interesting point is what you said, right? When you run a marathon or a long distance, and when you travel that by car and you're like, damn, I did all of that.
Yeah.
I still have that on the C-Link.
Yeah.
And for me, that was my fascination of actually doing a half marathon, is because I wanted to run on the C-Link. For me personally, I dislike running that because I get bored. And Bombay is not a very runner-friendly city unless you're staying at, let's say, near Dadar or Marine Drive or something, right?
Yeah.
I stay in Andheri West. That Lokhandwala back road to run is the worst demotivating running possible.
Try running Marine Drive now. It's like a mud track.
Now it'll be terrible.
Yeah.
But to me, the best feeling that I've ever got doing a physical activity was that when I did my 10K, even the feeling I got when I crossed the line, and it wasn't that, okay, physically I could do it, is mentally what you felt, right? That your body is capable of doing this.
Yeah.
And that feeling just was 10 times more when I did my half marathon. One feeling was to run on the ceiling. That's just a great memory. And every time I take my car, I wonder, I ran that. And you don't realize there's an incline on the ceiling.
Yeah, there is.
In the car, you really don't feel it. When you're running, you definitely feel it. But that feeling is what I'm running a marathon to chase, because crossing that finishing line is another high. And that for me is my reason of running a marathon. How has that been for you from day one? Is that what really gave you the kick to continue post your first marathon?
I didn't know, honestly, whether it was a big deal to even finish a marathon. As I said, interestingly, what happened, and this is a story that I have told a few people. I didn't know that it was a big deal to run a full marathon. Okay. It was in December 2013. My marathon was January 2013. And in December 2013, when Star Sports approached me, they wanted to do a story with me, saying that, you did your first marathon and you did it sub 5 hours. And I was like, okay, that's a big deal. So they're like, yeah, for many sub 5 is a target. And I was like, okay, that's fabulous. So, we want to do a story on that. And I was like, oh, wow. Like, it must be a great thing to do like a full marathon and a sub 5 full marathon. And that is when I realized that it is a big deal to do a marathon in itself. So for me, it was like a challenge that I took back then. It gained significance only when I started, meeting these group of runners. And, we used to have like a really nice group at Shivaji Park Marathon Club, SPMC is what we would call. And marathon enthusiasts from different groups, from people from teens to 70-year-old men and women participating in Mumbai Marathon every year. And whoever would perform really well during the race, there used to be like a nice gifting ceremony, a trophy kind of a thing post the event. So I mean, it is only when I surrounded myself with these people is when I realized, okay, this is possible and that is possible. Or I don't think I even shared a picture of finishing a marathon on Facebook. I was not at all active on social media at all. So I mean, it's only much later that I realized that this has to be like a great feeling of accomplishment. Yeah,
it is. You're making a lot of this sound too easy. And who I was listening in,
it wasn't like I remember I was at Haji Ali about 35 kilometer mark, if I'm not mistaken, during the full marathon, the first one that I did. And one of my friend who was doing half called me, and I was running with I think Old Navy shorts, linen shorts. I didn't even have proper running clothes. I was wearing my gym shoes, trainers, for this run. I just had like a dry fit t-shirt on, and I was running with a phone with plugged in with those wires and listening to music. And my friend calls and ki zinda hai ke mar gayi. And I remember telling this to him that I can't feel my legs. It's not easy.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
And I think starting off with 5K you can do fairly easily. 10K you can do fairly easily. I've done my 21Ks without too much prep. I think that also you can do. But a full marathon is where things really start to get tough.
Yes, they do. They do. Of course they do. And now over the years, I have started celebrating, finish lines more than, more than I did in my first few races. So it's really great. The first feeling that you get is ho gaya. It's done. Then there is, a sense of accomplishment. Yeah, I mean, it was phenomenal. Whether I was able to achieve the target, not whatever. And then I think after a day, it comes to what's next.
Yeah.
So it's like a journey from ho gaya to what's next.
What's next? As in
what next? Which
what
race?
You're running?
Yeah,
oh man.
What you're running next? Yeah.
So take me through. You did your first marathon. That was Jan 2013.
Correct.
How did you progress onto longer distances, and how did that become, how tougher did it get?
The preparation is really tough because you need to really have time. And I have realized that I practically have no social life. In a training season, I have no social life. I mean, there have been times where I haven't been out on a Friday night for months at a stretch, 7-8 months at a stretch. And suddenly, after 8 months of, training for whatever, that's when, you let your hair down and, go out and be out till whatever, 11, 12. I can't sustain beyond that. I need to go back to bed because otherwise I sleep at 10 p.m. In the night. So I that's the maximum I can pull myself or stretch myself. But yeah, I mean, the preparation part of it is really, really difficult. Not the race so much. Once you have those miles on your feet, races are yours to finish. I feel that. Although, having said that, there are 50,000 things that can go wrong while doing an ultramarathon. The weather could be, difficult. It's not like a marathon which ends in 4 hours time band. It could be anything. It could get too humid, for example. Your body might not support you in spite of all the training that you've done for so many months. On that particular day, your body might not be feeling right. So there are so many things. You couldn't have your hydration strategy right on the race day. So you might just feel dehydrated early on, or you might just feel very flat, on your energy halfway through the race. It could be you have had not enough energy gels or food to sustain or take you through that race. So there could be many things that can go wrong, but in spite of that, I think the race preparation is really difficult for an ultra marathon. Yeah.
And sorry. And just in terms of classification, ultra marathon would be anything above 50k.
42.195.
Oh, so anything above a full marathon
Yes.
would be a
Ultra marathon, correct.
and which has been some of your most scenic of these kind of things, right?
So I would say the Khardungla challenge that I did in Ladakh, this was in 2014. It's one of the most beautiful races. You have to go a day prior, stay in Khardung village. You cannot sleep because it's freaking cold. Like, it's really cold. Back then the race would start. I don't know the timing for the start time for the race right now, but back then it would start at 3 a.m., which means you are up since 1:30, having your coffee, tea, biscuits, whatever, prior to the race. And it takes you, all the way up to Khardungla top, and then you run to Leh village. So it's a 72 kilometer. In reality, it's 74. I mean, it's definitely a longer distance than 72. But yeah, that is like a really beautiful run that I did. There are many races that I really enjoy. Sometimes, the place might not be very scenic, but, the races stay with you for, there could be something special, or you could feel nice about that. So there's one such run which happens in Pune every November. I was planning to go until I got the stitches on my knee. I mean, it has a great energy to it. I don't know, something is it really feels positive.
Which is this one?
This is near Loni Kalbor. Yeah. It's about 40 minutes from the main city. Probably about 40 minutes from a place like a Koregaon Park or something like that. And it's a trail run. It's really beautiful. It's really stunning. I did 100k last year in Jaisalmer. It was a point-to-point race from Jaisalmer to Longewala. Beautiful, like stunning. Like, I mean, there was sun on one side and moon on the other, and you were running on the road in between, and you were surrounded by wild camels, windmills, and desert. It was just so beautiful. I literally had tears in my eyes. I remember the time also. It was about just before 6 p.m. The race started at 12 noon types, 12:15.
Was it really hot?
It was, but I mean, we are Mumbaikars. We can't complain about heat. Our we get only one season, hot, and 15 days of winter. So, you can't complain about heat, really. But it was stunning. It was, the challenge of that race was the fact that it was point to point. So, you had to carry everything on you, including your food, your clothes. You could put it off at like a 50 or 60 kilometer aid station, but that was the only aid station where you could put it. And it was just amazing. It was a beautiful run, really stunning. Really stunning. Yeah.
And tell me more about these 24 and 36 hour runs.
So 24 and 36 hour runs, depending on the format. Many of them, they happen in the stadium. So it's similar format like Formula One Le Mans, where you keep on lapping for 24 hours. And, the break is the time that you spend or waste during that, instead of clocking. So you have to be running through the time, you're running against the time. So in 24 hours, the maximum distance that you do is the distance that you cover. Similar format for 36. There is a 48 hours, which I want to attempt at some time in my life. There's a 148 hours run that the distance, it's a 48-hour race. It happens at different places around the world. So that's something that I would like to attempt.
And how much do you end up running in the 24 and 36?
You are your own limit. I mean, you can do whatever you can imagine in that distance, I mean, depends on your strategy, how many breaks you take, how long are your breaks. That's that. You need to go steady. You can't take too long breaks, in between. That also breaks your momentum. So you are your own limit. Yeah. So I need to really crack that. I haven't been able to so much. I have attempted quite a few. I have also represented India in 24-hour championship in Taipei with a full-time job.
Yeah, that for me that's the fascinating part. You can do all of this with a full-time job, and even during travels, right? Like to me, the easiest thing is wear a running sneaker
Hmm.
to a like when I'm traveling, wear a running sneaker that's also like a lifestyle sneaker, and you're set. You don't need anything else.
Yeah,
Even if you take out half an hour, 45 minutes,
correct.
just great. You've got your fitness in, you got some you time in, and works.
I in fact try to, if it's in my control, I try to book the hotels very close to the places to run. So if I'm, let's say, going to London, I would book a place which is very close to the Hyde Park. Or, if I'm going to Amsterdam, I would book a place very close to the Amstel Park or
Yeah.
Wandel Park. I try to ensure that, whichever place that I'm traveling to, my stay is very close to the place to run. And somehow I feel it's easy to run, in a country like ours with so many people. But sometimes it can get really unsafe running outside India. And you must have read so many cases of women runners attacked in a country like US. So it's better to figure out a place or a park where you can run or which is safe to run with other runners around. So I often, when I travel, I try to do that. Even in India, if somebody else is booking, companies booking my travel, for example, I try to figure out the fastest way to go to a nearby park or a running place to run. Yeah.
So we'll take a short break, and
Sure.
when we come back, we will discuss the mental aspect of running and how perhaps someone can start their running journey. In this digital era where everything is changing, a bank offering just banking services is the bare minimum. My Kotak Privy League banking program offers me invites to curated gram-worthy events, offers on coveted brands, lifestyle complimentary cards. Well, it's a banking program truly personalized to meet my every need. With crafted lifestyle privileges and a you-first approach, Kotak Privy League not only elevates my banking experience, but also makes me feel prioritized. Welcome back to Aneesh Thing. I'm with Shibani and we're talking about running and long distance running. Shibani, a lot of people who might be hearing this would be like, forget 40K, 30K. They may not be mentally even thinking of running 5K. So, for someone who's not been a runner, what's a easier and a non-intimidating way to get into running?
So, the easier and the non intimidating way to get into running is just start. Eh, I used to be stepping out for my walks in the evening, and I'll tell you how I began. Is between my off season in taekwondo, I would go for my long walks to Shivaji Park, and I would be like in a denim and t-shirt, and probably grabbing an ice cream or a Frankie post my walk. And I saw like a couple of people, I would see them running around Shivaji Park. And looking at them, I just began in whatever clothes I had. So many times, these fancy things around like a particular sport or a particular activity is what keeps a lot of people away from it. Like, for example, I'll give you an example, very recent one. I have just started biking after many years. And I'm the kind of person, very basic. I don't even understand gears, and all that jazz on a bike. And I realized the reason what kept me away from cycling was the way in which it looks like rocket science. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
see these cyclists with their jerseys and, helmet and,
That's me.
flashy, lights on their helmet and on the bikes and, these fancy ass bikes on the road. And you're like, do I have the bandwidth for this? Like, do I know any of these things? Do I really want to invest my time doing this when I know that, it's going to be like a part of my auxiliary training or,
Yeah.
for mobility from X place to Y place, in Mumbai. But then one day I just took it up. Like, and it's very recent, like, a few weeks back. And I started enjoying it. Like, I kept it very basic. Like, I just started cycling in like basic t-shirt and shorts, and that's how I began. Similarly, I began my running journey like that. Like, I didn't have a Garmin. I started running in 2013, 2012 actually, November, as I said, that year I started running. And then I got my first watch like to track my runs in 2015. So
even for your full marathon training and
no, I used to run on a Titan watch. Like, I could get the time from the time.
Yeah.
Like, I have paced events in between. Like, I was the official pacer, like a 60-minute bus for a 10K. And, people were worried that, whether she will be able to take us across the finish line in 60 minutes. And I would be like, it's time. You don't need all those fancy things on your hand to,
Yeah.
I mean, all the smartwatch brands and GPS watch brands are going to hate me for saying this. But really, all you need is you. All you need is your willingness to start. That's all. Nothing else.
And whether
it doesn't matter whether you have like the best gear or a best 20,000 rupee shoe. Like, you just need a basic shoe. I know so many supremely elite runners who started their running journey with canvas shoes. And you know how heavy they are.
Yeah.
At least I had trainers. Like, I had gym trainers that, that's how I began running. So I simply started in jeans and t-shirt at Shivaji Park, running from one tree to the next tree. Then I combined 2 trees. Then I made it half a circle of Shivaji Park. Then I took 1 full round. Then I started running from my house to Shivaji Park, full round and back. And, just kept on increasing and pushing and trying, more difficult, longer distance to do it. So that's how I began. So the best way to start is, start with a walk jog. I'm just simplifying that.
Yeah.
So just start with a few 100 meters of walk and then break into a jog. And then slowly try to increase that jogging distance, and that's the easiest way to begin. Yeah.
I personally end up keeping a track of time more than the distance.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, today I have to run for half an hour or like continuously for half an hour or 45 minutes or 1 hour. No matter what, I can slow down, I can fast walk if I have to, but that time has to happen. And that's how at least I've been able to train myself. Otherwise, I just get bored. But the other thing is running indoors on a treadmill versus outdoors. Because I think also running on a treadmill is just it's not fun.
It's the worst thing. Like, the time doesn't pass while running on the treadmill. The longest distance that I have done on a treadmill is 8 kilometers. And I had a 24 hours race coming in and I was traveling. And Kochi is absolutely not a running friendly city. Can we just edit that?
No.
Going to
we are not editing this.
No, it's I mean, it's it gets really too hot, and I was staying at a place which was like really off from those beautiful beaches and sea facing areas of Kochi. A lot of stray dogs and stuff on the road, which the stray dogs are not familiar with me. All the Shivaji Park dogs are familiar with me. So they just yawn and go back to sleep when I'm running. But yeah, so it was very difficult to step out for my runs, and I was training for a 24-hour event, and I had no choice but to clock in that mileage. So that's the longest run that I have done is 8 kilometers. It's absolutely boring. Like, it's like you're just staring into something and it just doesn't move. Nothing is moving around you. This is the most boring thing. That's right.
Yeah. That's where I struggle again, just Bombay running issues. A lot of things you said about people obsessing over equipment and stuff like that. I'm one of those.
Oh.
Like I'm already looking at my Ultra shoe, even though I'm nowhere close to, being that. But I think to me that is just a hobby element to it that, okay, I should have a jersey with my name on it for whatever reason. And I'll get obsessive. But I think that to a lot of my friends also, they see me doing all that prep and I think they somewhere get intimidated that, okay, if we have to do this, we do need all of this. But yeah, like you said, a lot of that stuff is not required. But what resources can you suggest, though? Websites, books, Instagram accounts to follow, generally for people to get into running and just get easier information? So
Runner's World is a great website to have access to. It gets a little technical many a times, but even if you search for basics, all are available on Runner's World. Running is very, it's not too complex, to be honest. It's just fairly easy. You just have to ensure that you like there are basic things like your landing has to be soft so that you don't end up impacting the knee. And no, it doesn't hurt your knee at all. It's how you run, not the activity that hurts your knee. So there are very basic things that you will get info about from this particular website. There are many books that are available. Daniel's Running Formula is one of them. The lore of running is another one. I enjoy reading books which motivate to cultivate a mindset for a race. So there are many such books that I thoroughly have enjoyed running. I go back to them so many times. One such book is Let Your Mind Run by Dina Castor. She is like an American Olympian, and her book is really beautiful on how to create that attitude towards running, towards everything, towards building that mental strength. So I really like her book. Amongst other sports people, I like The Open by Andrea Gassi. It's a great book. Like, it helps you build that psychological strength, and it takes you through what kind of a role mind plays in making a great athlete. So there are many such books like that I go back to. One Life by Megan Rapinoe, I think she's a phenomenal character. She is very inspiring, and the way in which she has led her life without any fears, and taking on whoever, like the most powerful man could be standing in front of you, and it doesn't matter to her. So these are some of the people that really inspire me, and I try to get in get in as much information about that mindset, that attitude from these books that I read.
Yeah. Two things I want to pick on what you said. One was about knees, because there is a misconception perhaps that running a lot will hurt your knees. So is that more on bad form?
As I said, it's actually not running that will impact your knees. It's how you run. So if you're landing too hard, if you're doing your hard, fast runs on like a hard surface, then probably yes. Also, the best hack to, go around this is to build your muscles around, your knees. So you work on your quadriceps. Quadriceps are your endurance muscles. So you will need a lot of quadricep strength if you're running marathons and ultra marathons. Work on your hamstrings. These are the important muscles that would probably help keep, take away the impact actually from your knees, and, keep them healthy. Yeah.
And the other thing is about the mindset. So what is that runner's mindset that you need for a marathon, ultra marathon, and generally to keep running?
Yeah, so खुद को बेवकूफ बना के चलो. We just fool ourselves through the run. Okay, it's just that I divide my run into whatever. So I tell myself, okay, if it's 100K, so after 10 kilometers, I'm going to gift myself a Snickers. Or, I'm just, that's a big achievement. So even when things are going wrong, you're in too much of pain, your back is hurting, your shoulders are hurting, your core muscles are hurting, everything in your body is hurting. It's somehow we realize that, we have this great relationship or friendship with pain. And if you are an ultra distance runner, you have to make friendships with pain, because it's a part of the journey, it's a part of your race. So that is one thing. The second thing is what really drew me towards running ultra is the solitude part of it. You get to spend a lot of time with yourself, and that is a great cleansing experience. I try to channelize all the energy. You might just, nobody has a perfect life, you might just have some work related frustration, anger, some fight that you've had with a colleague, boss, or whoever that you interacted with. And running helps me channelize, those feelings, that negative energy, and somehow by the end of the run I end up feeling extremely positive. So that is another thing that I really like about running. And the third thing is that I really feel grateful that I'm able to do it. Over the past 1 week of me, falling off a bike and, getting stitches, I haven't been able to run. And you know what? When I'm passing a park and I see people running, I feel jealous. Like, I mean, this person is running and I have to take a cab and I can't run. I didn't run in the morning. So it's this, attitude of gratitude that, you are able to do this. Like, why do you do an ultra? Because you can. There are so many other people in the world who can't do it. So you need to be grateful for the fact that, you have trained your body. Your body can do this. Your body can do 100-mile distance. Your body can do 100-kilometer distance. So many people in the world would give an arm and a leg to be able to even run a mile or a kilometer, and you can do that. So that is something that, that I always tell myself at the beginning of the race, while I'm, going through pain, while I hit a difficult patch, like a 28-kilometer mark in a full marathon is a difficult patch, for example. And since you're doing
that's
your
what
first
everyone's
full,
told me about, 28 to 30.
So I'll tell you, 27 to 32 is really difficult. Mentally, it's very, very challenging. After you pass a 32, it's just another 10 kilometers to go. So, in these difficult patches, I keep on telling myself these things that, I'm doing this because I can. I should be grateful for my body's ability to be able to do this.
Yeah, same. I do one more thing. Like the moment I registered for this, I told the whole world. I was like, now I can't back out of this.
Yeah.
I've told everyone, have to do this. Well, thank you so much. This has been very, very inspirational. Before we end the episode, a question from our sponsor, Kotak Privy League program. Tell me one niche thing you've invested in.
So one niche thing that I've really invested in and I really enjoy doing, and I've been doing this since my childhood, is swimming. I thoroughly enjoy the activity. It's like, whatever stress you have in the world, once you put your head underwater, it just magically cuts off all the noise. And I just love that feeling. I just love that water against my cheek, that gush, it's just a beautiful feeling, and it just cuts off all the crap, all the noise around you, and you just are all by yourself underwater.
Yeah. Well, you said swimming, you said cycling and running.
Cycling just started.
Is there a triathlon in the future?
I'm hoping to do it, but currently no. I'm taking one day at a time. I'm somehow managing to find time away from running to enjoy cycling. Basically, it's only for commute and like my off-day activity as of now. But hopefully one day I can, and that's the only thing amongst the three sports discipline that that was remaining for me to really own. So I still need to own cycling. I haven't owned that sport discipline yet. So once I do, probably only then I will. But I'm in no rush.
Great. All right. All the best for that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Aneesh.